Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So till now we have discovered what are conditional statements in Java. We know what is if else with multiple condition, that is else if as well, and also we have discovered what are switch statements, correct? All right. So in our today's session focused on loops, correct? So we'll see what are loops in Java. So there are different kinds of loops. We'll see how to use them, what are the means when to use which loop. All right, but before moving to this, first we need to have to know that what is the need of loops, correct? So first we'll see what are the need of loops, and then we'll see what actually loop can be used for or how we use, and what are the syntax for declaring a loop. So let's get started with this. So if I ask you that, hey, you have to print hello, what you will do? You will wrap this inside the system.out.println. Great. Now if I ask you, you have to print this single line 10 times. You might think like you will write system.out.println again and again just for the same task. All right. If I ask you to perform 100 or 1000, okay, even if you wrap it inside a method, but then too you need to call the method 100 times or 1000 times, correct? So that doesn't make any sense. So now how can I do that? Because this task is very difficult, or like it is very cumbersome, correct? But like it is very untidy as well. It will make our code very untidy, correct? So we need to follow some rules. Like there should be something that can help us doing this same task again and again, correct? So here comes the concept of loops. Okay, so if I say you have to print hello, so you will wrap it inside system.out.println, and now let's say there is a loop, and I am saying that loop it for 50 times. This is not the syntax, I'm just saying you. So this is how we can use loops. This is not the syntax. Here comes the syntax for a particular loop. So if I say loop for 50 times, so it is that easy that this will be printed 50 times, and if I just change the number over here, it will be printed 500 times. So this is how loops can be used. So for executing a task again and again, we need loops, or we use loops. All right. So the first loop that we are going to learn is for loop. Okay, so first understand the syntax of for, how for loop is defined, then we'll discuss about while loop, we'll discuss what is the syntax of while loop, and then we'll discuss about do while loop as well, and also the for each loop. Okay, yes. So now, as I said, first we are going to learn the normal for loop. So how do you declare a for loop? You declare a variable int I. Let's say the variable name is int I, and I initialize it with 0, and now I'm saying that okay, I is less than. Here you need to give the condition. Okay, here we need to declaration statement, here we need to give the condition. So that, see, if I don't give any condition, for example, if I'm not providing my loop to means I'm not telling my loop that hey, you have to print this task for this many times, so what will happen? It will keep on printing that again and again, which will lead to an infinite loop. So we need a statement so that it gets terminated. So if I say less than 10, and then we need to give the increment statement. Okay, so here we can have increment or decrement, either one of them. For now, this is our basic syntax. We will be making some changes, don't worry about this, but I hope till now it is clear to all of you. All right, so now what happens? This is 0, yes, and now I am saying that system.out.println hello. Now let me explain you the working for this loop. So how this loop works, as soon as it reaches to this line, okay, there is a loop, and the loop is for loop. All right, I am initializing the variable I is equals to 0. Okay, is, see, it will first check this condition. If the condition is true, then it will perform this task, otherwise it will terminate, or this loop won't run. Okay, so is 0 less than 10? Definitely correct. So just move inside the loop, just go inside the loop and perform the task it is asking you to do. So it will print hello, correct. Now it will again come over here, and as soon as it come over here, it will increment the I. So now I is 1. Okay, so after the completion of one iteration, it increments the I, because we have given the increment statement. If I have given this I minus minus, so this would have become -1, then -2 and -3 and so on, correct. But over here I am having I plus plus, which is increment. All right, then it will again check, is 1 less than 10? Correct. So let's again do this task. Yes, so it will print hello up till 0 to 9. Okay, so let's say 9 is over here. Is 9 less than 10? Yes, you have to print hello. Now as soon as it again reaches over here, I is incremented. Now I is 10. So is 10 less than 10? No, 10 is equals to 10. It is not less than 10, correct. So this statement is false, correct. This condition is false, and this, if this condition is false, the loop won't get executed. So now our loop terminates and our compiler reaches the end of the loop after the loop. Okay, so it just skips this block for now because the condition is not true. So let us give some try, like let us define some loops and then we'll again see how does this loop gets executed. So if I say for int I is equals to 0, see, you are the one who are initializing a variable, so it's up to you which variable you choose. I am choosing I. It's up to you. You choose A, B, or A or C. It's up to you. You can initialize it with any number. I am using 0. All right, and the condition I am giving is less than 10. It's up to you, whichever condition you want to give. Correct. It's up to you. You can give greater than 10 or equals to 10. It's up to you. Any condition you can give. And we'll, yes, now if I say system.out.println and I am asking it to print hello, and now let me run this. Yes, okay. Can you see the output? Let me minimize this. Yes, so just a second. Can you see the output? Hello gets printed 5 times, sorry, 10 times, correct. Yes, because our terminating statement is I less than 10 and I starts with 0, so it will run for 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which is equals to 10 values, correct. So it will, the loop will run for 10 times. Am I right? Yes. So if I make it 100, the loop will run for 100 times and it will be printing hello for 100 times. Okay, so if I initialize with 10, then what happens? It will run for 90 times, correct. So yes, so if I change the like this, okay, so let me make it like this, and I greater than 10, I plus plus, and the system.out.println hello. Now what happens? I is initialized to 0. All right, is 0 greater than 10? No, so this loop won't get executed, correct. Now it will reach to this part or the next part after this loop block. Am I right? So this is how you can use the for loop. So let's take a real-time example that you can use, that you will be often using it. Okay, so let me declare an array. I am declaring an array. Let me name it as ARR, and let me give any random numbers to it. And previously you asked me that how can I print the arrays using something or at once, correct? We were just pointing to each and every index at that time. So now it's time to print the complete array at once. So if I say for int I is equals to 0, okay, and I less than up till, okay, so now what is the length of our array? 7 I plus plus. Okay, now what we have to do, system.out.println arr's ith element. So now what happens, see, I am giving that I is equal, I will run for 0 to 6, 1 2 3 4 5, correct? Yes. Now I want, what I am doing is I am printing arrays ith index, correct, element at the ith index. So now what happens, I is equals to 0, condition is true, go into the block. This block have the instruction to print this element. The element is arrays ith index. For now I is 0. So what is arrays 0th element? 5. So it will print 5. Then it will again move over here. Now I is incremented, correct? I is equals to 1. So it has to print arrays ith element, that is first element. Now it will print 6 and so on. So it will be running for 0 1 2 3 4 5 and 6. So 0 1 2 3 4 5 and 6. So it will be printing our whole array. Am I right? Do you have any doubts? So let us run this. Yes. So can you see the output? It is same as our array element. All right. But now what if I change this? What if I change it to 65? What if I change, or what if I add some elements or delete some elements? Now you need to again change this 7 to 9. Am I right? Okay, but now what happens? The loop is not dynamic. It is not adjusting according to the array size. You are hard coding the condition again and again. So is there anything that can give you the length of the array? Yes, we have the dot length, correct? Yes. So instead of this 9, if I say arr dot length, if I say this, will it work for each and every array? Yes, it will, correct? So let me explain what happens at this time. I is equals to 0. What is array length? Array's length is 9, correct? Is 0 less than 9? Yes, definitely. You have to print arrays ith element, that is 0th element, print 5. Now I becomes 1. Now as soon as I become 1, it will again check the condition, is 1 less than 9? Yes, you have to print array first in, then it will print 6. Now it will again, I gets incremented to 2, it will print 7. I gets incremented to 3, condition is true, it will print 84. I gets incremented to 4, condition is again true, it will print 5. I gets incremented to 5, condition is again true, it will print 7. I gets incremented to 6, condition is true. I gets incremented to 7, condition is again true. I gets incremented to 8, 8 less than 9, condition is again true. And then I gets incremented to 9, but over here condition does not satisfied. Okay, so over here condition is not satisfied. Okay, so now what happens? This will terminate, because if I am not having any terminating case over here, I will show you this example, but if I am not having any terminating case over here, what will happen? Our loop, we will have a infinite for loop which will lead to us okay, let me define, let me yes, if I am saying that it is greater than 10, okay, and instead of this I'm just having our simple hello, okay, I am printing hello. Now what will happen? It will print hello 10 times. But now if I make it as I minus minus, now let's see what happens. Can you see? It is running, it is a infinite loop, correct? Can you see the cursor over here? Yes. So we have to terminate it like this. So now see how many hellos are getting printed. So now the reason for this is our loop is never getting terminated. Okay, so to terminate, the reason why it is not getting terminated is 0, I is equals to 0. Is I less than 10? That is 0 less than 10. True. Print hello. Again comes to this line, I minus minus, 0 becomes minus 1. I less than 10, definitely. Again print hello. So it then becomes minus 2. So it is going to the left side of 0, correct? It is going to the negatives, and negative are always less than 10. So it is not a terminating condition. So that's the reason why our loop is running infinitely. So I hope it is clear that why do we need a terminating condition. Okay, yes. So yes, you may have seen this, like I is declared outside this. Okay, so sometimes we do need this, like we have I like this, I is declared outside the loop, and then you are initializing it over here. And sometimes you would have seen this like this as well. So all of them are fine, no issues with this, but yes, most often you will be seeing it like I is equals to 0. Okay, so this is declared outside only if you want the value of I after running this loop. Okay, all right. So I hope it is clear to everyone till now. Do you have any doubts? You can ask me. So let us write a for loop for printing our array in a reverse order. Okay, how can I print it? See, if I'm running it from 0 to less than array dot length, which means this loop is going to run array dot length minus 1, correct? For this the length is 9, so it will run up till 8th index, so 0 to 8. The reason is index starts from 0, so we cannot go to the 9th index. The last index will be array dot length minus 1. That's the reason why I am having less than, not equals to, correct? And you know the comparison operators, the less than, greater than or equals to, less than or equals to, correct? Yes. So now what happens? Yes, so for our example, for this example, what we did, we were running a loop from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Am I right? Yes. So it was printing it in this fashion. It was printing the ith index, or yes, ith index. So 0th index, 1st index, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. Correct. Now what if I want to print it in a reverse way? So you can say that the I should be going like this. Yes. So I should be like this. So I should start with 8th value, correct? So I can write that int, and I want this program to run with any array, correct? So I want array dot length minus 1. What this will give? Array's length is 9. 9 minus 1 is always 8, correct? So it will be 8 over here. And what will be our condition? We have to run this loop from 8 to 0. So what will be our condition? Greater than 0, but we have to run for 0 as well. So we are giving the equals to, and now I minus minus, because we need to decrement our I. Am I right? Yes. So now then if I do the same, system.out.println arrays I, what will happen? It will print our array in the reverse fashion. So let us give it a try, and this should work fine. So for int I is equals to arr dot length minus 1, you know, right, why we have written length minus 1? Because we cannot go to the length index, correct? Because the length index is always 1 plus 1, because for this the length is 9. I don't have any 9th element, correct? Means element at the 9th index, because we don't have any 9th index. The index will be always minus 1 of the length, because it starts with 0 to 8. Yes. So now I greater than or equals to 0, because we have to run it for 0 as well. And then I minus minus. and then if I do system.out.println arr and I, now what will happen? It will print our array in a reverse fashion. So let me remove this ln, and you know why, what will happen if I remove this ln. So let me give some extra space. Yes, okay, let me have a extra line over here so that it see, can you see this? It is printing our array in a reverse fashion, and the first loop is printing our array in the linear fashion from the 0 to 8th index, and the next loop is printing it from 8th index to the 0th index. So I hope it is getting clear to all of you that why we can use loop and how it is useful to us, because previously for printing all the element of array we used to write system.out.println for each and every elements. Now let there be 100 elements, it will be working for each and every loop, sorry, array, correct. So if I say it like this, if I add some elements then too it will work fine, correct. See, yes, so we have discussed about loops now. All right, so yes, so we have built some logic as well. So now let us build some more logic. You know what are factorials, correct? So let us write a problem or a loop for returning a factorial for a value. So if you want 5's factorial, what is the factorial of 5? We will say 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1, correct. So this is the factorial of 5. What is the factorial of 4? 4 into 3 into 2 into 1, correct. So the factorial for a particular number n is the multiple of all the numbers up till the 1, correct. So if I am having number n, I have to run the loop for n to 1, am I right? Yeah. So how can I write this loop? So let's say I am having my number in variable n, okay, I want the factorial of n, that is 5. So how can I write the for loop for this? For int I is equals to n, okay. Now from where this is going to get started? It is going to get started with 5. I have to run this for up till the 1 and I minus minus. So we have created a loop, but now the twist is we need to see, I want to see what happens at the first iteration. It is considered as 5, and the next iteration it is considered as 4, then 3, then 2, then 1, correct. Okay, this is going fine, but we have to multiply the resultant of the previous iteration as well, correct. So what we'll do is we'll create a variable. I know it might be going above your head, but then too we have to work on this because this will improve our logic building for some problems. So if you are getting confused, it is obvious, but you need to practice this a lot, then only you are going to get fluent in the loops. Okay, so let me declare a variable. So if I declare a variable, let's say int fact, for now I'm initializing it with 1. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll do fact is equals to fact into I. Now what happens? Can you tell me how this loop will work? Will it give us the right value? So let us discuss this. So n is equals to 5 for the first time, n is greater than 1, condition is true. You have to change this fact to fact, that is 1 into 5. All right, 5 comes over here. Now again n becomes 4, condition is true. You have to change this 5 to 5 into n, sorry, I, correct? So this will become 20. So now the fact becomes 20, correct? Now I becomes 3. So now you have to multiply this value, that is this 20 with 3, correct? So this becomes 60. Now in the next iteration this I becomes 2, and then you have to multiply this 2 with 60. Am I right? So it will become 120 over here, and in the next iteration it will become 1, and then you have to multiply 120 with 1. So what will be the output? The output will be 120 for fact for now, but in the next iteration it becomes 0. Now the condition gets unsatisfied, correct? It is not satisfied, so the loop terminates. So we have got the output for the fact as 120. So is the 5 factorial is equals to 120? Let us check that. 5 4s are 20, 23, 20 into 3 60, 60 into 2 120. Absolutely right, we have got the correct answer, correct? So let us implement this in code. So yes, so int n, this is our number whose factorial we are going to find. Now you might ask me that why you are initializing fact with 1, why not 0? I'll explain that one as well. We have to run up till 1. You know the shorthand, correct, for multiplying? Yes. And after this loop, if I try to print the value of fact, what will happen? Can you see it is coming out to be 120, or let me just do it like this. Yes, it is coming out to be 120, correct? So now the reason why I have given this fact as 1 is, if I give it as 0, okay, if I initialize fact with 0, then what happen is I multiply 0 with I, and anything that multiplies with 0 is 0, so 0 remains over here. Now I becomes 4, and I again want to multiply it by 4, again it will be 0. So if I initialize it with 0, our value is always going to be 0. So let us try this, and can you see the output? It is 0. So that's the reason why you should have something like this. So I hope it is clear to everyone, and do you have any doubts? You can ask me. Yes. So is there any alternative for doing this factorial? This might have confused you because we are reversing the loop. But what if I ask you that, hey, you have to print a number from 1 to 5? How you will do? For int I is equals to 1, I less than or equals to 5, I plus plus, correct? And then you will say system.out.println and I, so it will print it. So what is factorial of 5? Okay, I want you to print a number from 1 to n. You will just change this 5 to n, correct? And it will be working the same way. So what is the factorial of 5? Correct. What is the factorial of 6? What is the factorial of 3? So can you see it is just a reverse, correct? We were doing it from 5 to 1. Can I do it from 1 to 5 as well? Correct. So it's up to you which way we choose. Yes, so if I do it like this way, then too it will work, correct? So let me define fact as 1, and now if I say fact star is equals to I, then too we are going to get the same output, correct? So you can give this a try. All right, so now I hope we have learned a lot of problems in loops. So now I hope you will be having a better understanding that how we can run a loop or how we can use a loop. Okay, now let me comment this loop. Yes, now let me explain while loop. So in how while works, it checks. Okay, the syntax for while is while. See, you need to define the kind of loop. For you use the for keyword, for while you are going to use the while keyword. So now you will say while this condition is true, then only perform the instruction written inside this block. So here you can give any condition, a greater than 10, a is equals to 2. It's up to you which condition you give. You can give multiple conditions as well, correct? So over here you provide any conditions. So let's say a or 10 greater than 2 or a greater than 2, correct? So this will run only if a is greater than 2. So this is how while works. The same way the for works. Okay, but in for what we were having was, in for loop we were having a declaration. Okay, then too we can declare this variable outside, so we can omit this, but we had a condition, that is we are also having in the while loop. But in for we had a increment and decrements, correct, which was helping us to terminate our loop. Because if I run a loop for I to n, okay, so yes, so I was incrementing I so that it gets terminated, it reaches the nth position, correct, or greater than n, so that it gets terminated. In while we are not having any such increment or decrement, so we have to define it manually. Okay, so now yes, so now if I say let me declare a variable int I is equals to 1, you need to print the value of I until the I reaches 10. Okay, so I less than or equals to 10. You want to print 10 as well. System.out.println I. Now what will happen? See, if I run this loop, we get an infinite loop, correct? See, the reason for this is the loop is not getting terminated. We are not having any statement for terminating it, correct? Over here we are having I is equals to 1. Is 1 less than or equals to 10? This will return true, which means condition is satisfied, and we are supposed to print this in the console, the value of I 1. Now it again goes over here, I is still 1, so we are not incrementing I, so it will always be 1, and we are checking the condition for 1 less than equals to 10 again and again, and this condition will always get satisfied. So that is the reason why we are not getting the output, that is the reason why we are not terminating our loop. So we need to provide some terminating statement, or we need to increment I so that it gets terminated. So I am manually doing it over here. So now over here what happens, I is equals to 1, 1 less than 10, true, print I and then increment I. So now the next time you check 2 less than or equals to 10, and the next time 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, then 8, then 9, then 10, and as soon as it reaches 11, the condition didn't get satisfied and the loop terminates. So now let me run this. See, yes, so can you see the output? It is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So yes, you could have done this same way in the for loop. Okay, so see, both of the loops work same. Okay, even for can do some work and the while can do the same work as well, correct? But the reason, now your question will be when to use for and when to use while. So when you have a value, okay, so when you have the fixed number of iteration, when you know that this loop is going to iterate for this particular time, okay, or when you want to use this I. So in our example, when we were printing arrays element, what we did, we used this I for printing our arrays element ith position, correct? can I do it in this? You will say yes, but we need to define some variables outside it. But what is the need? We can declare a for loop for this, correct? Yes. So this is the reason, like when you have to use this I, then one reason is to use for loop. And again, for loop is for like when you know the terminating that this loop is going to run for 10 times only, so why not declare it in for and increment I plus plus. It is quite easy, correct? For while we have to set up, yes, condition will be same, but we have to set up some variables, correct? But when the length is not known, when you don't know the exact number of iteration, okay, so when the number of iteration is not known, then you can use the while loop. And as you proceed further with your programming, you will see a lot of example where you are using for, but at the same time you will see a lot of example where you use while, and that time it will be clear to all of you that why you are using while over here. See, if you don't want any variable declaration, if you just want to check whether a is less than, or sorry, whether a is greater than b, then it's always good to go with while, because we don't have to do any extra stuff for it, okay? And for we need to do some extra stuff. We need to define a variable. If I am not defining, then too I need to give a semicolon, a condition, and the increment statements, okay? So I hope till now it is clear to all of you. So do you have any doubts? You can ask me in the comment section or the chat box. So now the next loop that we are going to learn is do while loop. So now let's say you are a compiler. You have 3 loops in front of you. Just a second. Yes. Now yes, you have 3 loops in front of you. First loop, for int I is equals to 0, I less than or equals to 10, I plus plus. You have to perform this task. Then you have while, some condition. Then you have this loop. You are a compiler, okay? You don't have eyes, you're just going line by line fashion, okay? So now you comes over here, you come over here, you look, hey, okay, this is a for loop, good. Now you go ahead with, okay, you have to initialize a variable I, initializing it with 0. Check whether 0 or I is less than or equals to 10. Great. You iterate or you perform the instruction inside this, and this will run for 11 times, that is 0 to 10, because I am having equal to sign over here, okay? You iterate this loop for 11 times and terminate it, because as soon as I becomes 11, the condition gets false. Now you come over here, okay, you do, okay, you say that, okay, it is a while loop, great. You will check the condition, whether the condition is false or not. If the condition is true, it will run the instruction inside this. If the condition is false, it will terminate. So let's say you have run this loop for some times and then it gets terminated. Now you come over here. What does this do? In your normal English, what do you mean by do? Do means you have to perform some task. So even the compiler will say, okay, I have to do this, okay, I will do these instructions, I will run this instruction, I will execute this instruction. Then you will see, okay, I have while. So if this condition is true, then I am going to do this again, okay? So what happens at the do? You first do a task. So do happens or do runs at least once, okay? So let me explain you this, how this works. I know it is confusing. All right, so let me declare do, let me declare a condition for do while, okay? So if I say I less than 10, I have to print system.out.println I. Now I am having no terminating statement, the loop will run infinitely. So I'll increment my I. Yes, so we get the output as 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So how this works, I is declared, okay, you have to print the value of I will be printing I, then you need to increment I, now I becomes 2, and now you have to check the condition. If the condition is true, then you have to again do this task, but you have already done it once, correct? So before checking the condition, you have already done a task, am I right? Yes. So if the condition is true, then you need to print this, if the condition is true, and so on. So let's say if I have I is equals to 100, what will happen? It will say do print I, it will print 100, it will increment 100 to 101, and then it will check whether 101 less than 10. No, it is not, it will terminate. But what happened? 100 already got printed. So do is used when you want a instruction to be executed at least once. Okay, so now yes, this works fine. If I make it as 100, what will happen? 100 will get printed, but then the terminating, or then the loop gets terminated because the condition is false. So I hope do while is clear to all of you, and in future when you learn different kind of problems or like algorithms, so in the algorithms as well you will see do while kind of approach. It is not much use, but then too you will see few of the problems where you use do while. So when you want to perform a particular instruction at least once, okay, then at that moment of time you are going to use the do while, because you are not running, means you want at least once the instruction should be run, correct, instead of or irrespective of whether the condition is true or not. If the condition is true, it will loop around again and again, but if the condition is false, then too you have to print it at least once, or then too you have to perform this instruction at least once. So at that moment of time you can use the do while loop. All right, so I hope till now it is clear. We have completed for loop, we have completed while loop, and now we have completed the do while loop. So even in the interviews you can get a difference, means you might be asked like what is the difference between while and do while. So you can now, I hope that you can encounter this question, because while will run only if the conditions are true, do while will run at least one even if the condition is false, correct? Yes. So now the question is, see, while and do while are kind of same, okay, it is also a while loop, just a enhancement, because we are adding the do statement before it. So now the question is, which one is faster, while or for? So it has been said that while is slightly faster, not much, but it is slightly faster than the for loop. So yes, while is slightly faster, but then to comparatively they are having the approximately they are having the same time complexities, but then too if you want to know the exact time, then while is slightly faster. All right, now we'll learn advanced for loop. See, the for loop that we discussed was this one, correct? Int I is equals to 0, I less than array dot length I plus plus, correct? So this loop is also called as traditional for loop. Now we are going to learn advanced for loop. Okay, so advanced for loop is nothing but if also called as for each loop. So now let me help you to understand that why for each loop, or what is the use of for each loop. Okay, so let me just comment this out and let us move down to our array. Yes, so how we printed this array, we used a for loop. So there is other alternative as well for printing this. First let me write this alternative and then let me explain this. And this is only applicable to arrays and collection. So you don't know collection, so no worries about that. Yes. All right. So what happens over here? This is our array. I want to print it. So previously I used a for loop, correct? But now I am using a for each loop. So what happens? How the for each works? It will say, hey, for each element of this array, I have to store each element in this variable one at a time. So the first element comes into I and we print it. Then the second element. So over here I am not having any array.length constraint because it is getting executed or computed behind the scenes, correct? So automatically Java does it for us. But now what happens, you know that why I have defined the variable I. Can you guess that? See, our array is of type int, so each and every element of it will be of type int. So I need to store each element into a variable, and this variable should be of type int. So that's the reason why I am having the type of variable I as int, because I am storing each and every element into I one by one. So if one element is into I, we print it, then the next one comes into I, we print it, then the third one. So this is how the for each loop works. So it will iterate throughout the array. Am I right? It will start from the 0th index and go to the last index, and it is storing each variable or each element inside the I variable. So the reason that why I is of type int, this should be compatible with this type, because each element will be of this type. So I hope it is clear to everyone that when to use for each loop. See, for each loop is only applicable to arrays and collections. So collections we don't know, so don't worry, but for now it is only applicable for arrays. You cannot perform any other thing, like you cannot print hello 10 times using, you cannot print hello 10 times using for each loop. It will iterate through an array only. Now it's up to you what task you want to write over here. Now if you want to say, okay, so over here I am printing the value of I, it's up to me. I don't want to print I will print hello. Okay, but it is not working the way that we have defined for the hello. It will print hello for the number of times the elements are over here. So how many elements are over here? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 elements. So it will print 15 times hello, but it is printing because there are 15 elements inside this array. So the loop will iterate for 15 times. So let me just write this. And if I print this, see, it prints hello 15 times. Alright, so this is how the for each loop or the advanced for loop works. So I hope now you have a better understanding that how for loop, for each loop, while loop and do while loop. Why you add additional memory into it? Can you please, I'm not understanding your question, can you please elaborate? Yes, so yes, these are the 4 kind of loops that we have completed, and I hope it is clear to every one of you. So do you have any doubts? You can ask me. So in our next session we will be learning about break and continue, because it cannot be done today. So we will be learning break and continue, but before learning break and continue, I will request you to go through these loops very well, and especially for loop and while loop for now. So just practice few questions, okay? practice few questions based on for loop and while loop, and you can make your own questions as well, like you have to print this sentence for 5 times, you have to print this for 10 times, you have to print the table of 2, you have to print the factorial. You can again practice the factorial question. So if you are able to get handy on these loops, then break and continue will be easier for you in a next session. Okay, I just use this. You are asking that why did I write this? Because if I don't write this, we are not getting any space over here. If I just omit this over here, we will be getting hello like this, and if I include ln over here, then it will print it in the next line 15 times hellos. I hope it is clear to all of you. Yes, so do you have any doubts? All right, so in our next session we are going to discuss about break and continue statement, and after that we will be proceeding with our next topics. Okay, yes, so you just practice this concept of loops, and then this break and continue statement will be easier for you to understand. And in our next session we are also going to discuss about recursion, not in much detail, because if I go into much deep, there are a very good number of questions for recursions, and it is not needed at this time because we are learning the language. So we are going to learn what is recursion. We'll have some good examples of them as well. Yes, so let's catch up tomorrow at the same time, 7:30 p.m. So till then you just practice all the loops and all the topics that we have discovered till now, and if you have any doubts you can ask me in the comment section. So we'll catch up tomorrow at the same time. Thank you.